portrait painting video. Last time we started this painting with a alla prima start, an umber drawing, and then we went in with form. In that video we had a choice halfway through. We could go in with values and colors in the background or push some of the form in the light. So we decided to push the form in the light. So today we're going to talk about creating the effect of atmosphere. So how to create atmosphere and what does that even mean? So we're going to talk about not so much atmospheric perspective, because that has to do with distance, which you're not going to have a lot of distance with a face. Obviously, atmospheric perspective would be with mountains and buildings and stuff like that. But we're going to talk more about a sense of air in the painting that is a little bit stronger than a photograph. So think about the painting just as a kind of a two-dimensional thing right now. You've got light and you've got shadow and you've got little value changes in between. So the effect of atmosphere is going to have something to do with your values and your colors. So the first thing about value is you don't want anything to be as dark as just straight black, something like that. And this is obviously in the light, so it's not going to look straight black, but let's just, for the purpose of this video, put this right there. So that, sure, a photograph will do that and push the contrast everywhere, but what this does is it brings it forward to your, it's in your face, this little thing here. It almost looks like painter's, not electrical tape was just put there. So that's not what we want. So that's just an extreme example. Another one would be to put just straight white somewhere. It would do the same thing. It would just jump right out. So you don't want to do that. So what you want to do is avoid using straight black, avoid using straight white, and you'll find that the background will kind of feel further away, and that's without using any color. So let's fix this now. The paint is still wet. We started this yesterday. So the video for the start of this painting is linked in the description box of the video. And let's just go ahead and fix that. Now it's not all in your face. So let's talk about now how color is going to be involved. So the color of the light is something you want to think about in relation to the color of the shadow, but you also want to consider the surrounding colors of the environment. So how is this color going to relate to that one? So the obvious choice would be, oh look, it's more green. Yeah, it is more green than this, but it's not that light. So you're going to have to consider the value, and then what kind of green is it relative to I don't know, some of the green here on the side of the face. Well, maybe it's a little bit more blue. I don't know. So we're going to have to put a shape down, and we're going to have to think about the hue, the value, the chroma, which are the three components of a color, but you're also going to want to think about what is it in comparison to the surrounding things. Now that all may seem kind of convoluted and difficult, but it's not too bad if you take everything one step at a time. This is why we didn't jump right into color, and that looks a little bit closer in relation to this. Never mind the photograph, but just looking at this value in comparison to this one, with respect to the light that we have here, which is why we didn't jump right into this yesterday, because that would have taken a different route. This would have been a little less realistic, and we would have been doing more form related stuff today, which is not that big of a deal, but it would have been a different topic, and I wanted to relate to you what it would feel like to paint from a live model. If this is, you know, like if you're paying the person to stand there for you or sit there for you, probably don't want to spend too much time with the background, but when you do, these are the things that you're going to want to consider. So next, you want to think about this shape in relation to this one, also up here. So we're going to deal with pretty much the entire quadrant. So first off is the drawing. This is taller. Probably a little bit higher. My initial guess before might have been right. That's pretty good. Blur that line out. I'm just going to use the same brush. You could change brushes for this, but this shape here looks a little bit greener to me, lighter. This is the palette that I used yesterday, obviously, so the paints are still wet. I put the palette in the freezer. I let it sit for a couple minutes before streaming today. That's pretty close. Now, you're not trying to color match. What you're looking at is what does one color look like in context with the surrounding colors, and how does that look from a distance in terms of the overall big picture. That's how you create atmosphere. That's how you create beautiful atmosphere. And I'd hate to tell you that that's about it, but that is about it. That's all we're going to think about when it comes to the topic of today. Atmosphere, how to create beautiful atmosphere, what it takes to create beautiful atmosphere. It's a very simple concept. What does this look like in relation to this, in relation to that? It's a very simple little puzzle that we can put together. But the problem becomes, how do you organize all of these decisions in your head, and how do you execute them? That's going to be pretty much what we'll talk about for the majority of the video. Now, there's going to be a little bit of a drawing thing right there, so the back side of the hat. Now, obviously, it's not going to be that color, but we can relate it to this, and it's a little bit darker. Excuse me. It's a little bit darker, and I think more green. So it's a little bit more green. Probably about this value. Yeah, darker than that. So we're still using the palette as a value. Let's just call it a string to organize where one value is going to go in relation to the others. So again, that's too light. That is phthalo blue, black, yellow. Create a dark green. So there it is. It is darker, a tad bit more green. Not much of it's actually showing on your screen because I got it zoomed into the face. Now this is actually pretty close to the color it's supposed to be. So I may not have to change much with the light of the hat. It just kind of ended up being that way. Of course, there's going to be a tad bit more yellow. So let's add that. These are all real-time videos. There's nothing edited here. I will upload some edited videos for anyone that doesn't have the time to watch these. In particular, I have a watercolor one that I'm just about almost finished with that you'll see over the weekend. Okay, so test out a little area. Obviously, that's way too light. And that's pretty close. Hey, Janice. Welcome back. I did say it would be a surprise whenever I would return, but I guess today wasn't that big of a surprise. Only been about 24 hours since the last time. So there we go, a hint of yellow. Now I want it to be a little more, a little less saturated and a little bit cooler, so I'm going to use black and brown, bring down the saturation. Now this is where we go beyond the reference, beyond the photograph, because we will do these changes ourselves. It depends on what your style is, but I don't like heavily brushy looking paintings. There's a lot of brushy looking paintings that are great to look at. They're awesome, but it's not my aesthetic to use a brushy effect. So this is why see this motion. That's why I use that motion, is to bring down the brushiness. A brushy painting is great for a sketch. For me personally, I'm fine with it for a sketch. A watercolor sketch, right? Like, sure, you'll see that. I'm fine with that with a sketch or a quick demo or something like that, but not with a studio type painting. Thanks, Janice. Alright, so next thing we're gonna look at is the bottom, and it's actually a lighter yellow. Let's just experiment with this for now. And I'm gonna have to edit it slightly so it fits on the picture plane. Little gradation of color there with the phthalo blue and the yellow. Even on the corner of the canvas, there's a little gradation. So every part of this picture is going to be taken to great detail. minus the word detail. We're going to think about it as form. That's actually really close in value to this. In fact, it might actually be picking up some light over here. Hence the straw hat. Now, how does this color exist in relation to the other ones? Even in the small scale, I'm thinking about these things. So my guess would be is it's a tad bit more blue. So even in the small scale, but how blue is this relative to that? The photograph won't give you that. The photograph is depending on the screen you're looking at, if it's a print, the quality of the printer, it's not going to be anywhere close to real life yet. Of course, I'm sure the AIs are going to make that closer, probably like next week. But I perceive it should be that bluer than this, but not quite as deep of a blue as that. Hey Harsh, YUG, welcome. This is oil paint. I should have put that in the description, my bad. Oil paint. But if you don't like using oil paint, don't worry. Medium, like if we're talking about like linseed oil versus liquid or something like that, I'm using Neo McGilp for the darks, for like around here. But nothing else, like with the lights, for example, nothing else. I just used the Mineral Spirits Gamsol, which is somewhere around here in the studio, just to clean the brushes now and then. But not to thin out the paint for any of this. Oh, thanks. Thank you. And it can cut into this, it's fine. The paint's still wet, so I can blend it like that. And as Bob Ross would say, happy little accidents, right? So here, look. I can take this and just blend it right into here. Now let me tell you a really useful thing with oil paint in particular. Depending on the conditions of the room, humidity, temperature, all that stuff, the paint will not be completely dry by the next day. It will be somewhat in between dry. As you see here, this is still pretty much wet, but we know, just because of time, it's in between dry. We started it yesterday. So as the paint is starting to dry, here's the important takeaway from this. You can time your layers such that you can knock out a finished portrait in 2 days to 3 days. Painting wet on wet, yet you're utilizing the fact that as it starts to dry, the paint is going to be rougher. It's going to be stickier, which will give you more control in the lights, as you're going to see later today. It's not going to lift as much. It may lift, but not that much. It may lift a little bit, but we'll test it as we get in here. Not as much as a watercolor or an acrylic would. Of course, a watercolor or an acrylic, to get to that stage where they're in between dry and lifting, is only a matter of minutes. So, well, thanks. Hopefully that'll be helpful. Now it depends on your materials. If you are using just regular oil paints with linseed oil, you can time your painting process so you can paint like this, so you can knock something out in 2 days or 3 days. I think we'll knock this one out today. So in 2 days we'll create the finished painting. We'll see. Maybe it will take 3 days. I don't know. But that's a nice thing to be able to do. Now in terms of the atmosphere, now you see that this is starting to push this, but there's a missing piece. This in relation to this has to have something here. This is still part of the gray of the canvas, and this is the bluest area in the reference. So that would be kind of a no-brainer. Just add blue and white, you would think. So let's see. It's going to be somewhat green. I'm mixing onto the dry paint. And that dry paint has wet paint on it. I don't really care. All I have is a nice gradation on the palette. Very low maintenance. I don't care about the stuff that I'm mixing on. Yeah, we've done some acrylics. These days I actually like using acrylic to start oil paintings. But yeah, of course, we can do an acrylic. That would be no problem. It did take me, well, to reach this part of the painting, I think we painted for 3 hours yesterday. So we're looking at 3 hours plus 22 minutes now of painting to get to this point in this painting. So there we have that kind of bluish green. Obviously there's going to be some light, and the canvas almost does that effect for us. Oh, thank you. I'm funny. Thanks for the smiley faces. This cast shadow from the hair is going to get a little darker, but not that much. Here's a shadow that's going to be a different value and a different color in comparison to this. So we've got to be a little cautious with it. It's closer to an ultramarine. So there's a deep kind of ultramarine color. Something like that. And of course, happy accident style. Quoting Mr. Ross, we'll just use this to subtract some lights, because this is not fully dry yet. Something like that. Now with a different brush. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm not really like trying to. I've done kind of more fast paced, kind of like, let's do a painting in 45 minutes kind of thing, like other art shows and stuff. But I'm just kind of more in a chill state these days, slowing things down, trying to show you more of a realistic look, realistic approach. so this is gonna have a tad bit of yellow. Yeah, could be shy, yeah. Though I've been doing these streams for like 5 years. So, no, you should see what my streams were like in 2020 or 2019. I forget whenever I started. I was terrified. A bit of light here. These days I'm a tad bit more worried about my YouTube channel, which could make it seem like I'm shy, but I'm actually just worried. You don't have to worry about that, but it's just stuff that we creators have to worry about. Look, happy little accident there. I got some of the red. And that creates a nice contrast. Kind of a pinkish color here to contrast this one. I think we can complete it, or come close to completing this in another 2 hours from now, maybe. I think. I don't know. If not, we'll be back finishing it tomorrow. I'm not gonna rush it though. So I saw in the comment before I signed on today from the end of yesterday. I didn't actually see it while I was live yesterday, but I read it today. So happy birthday to Gigi. You were asking if I would be here on your birthday today, which I think you meant would be your birthday today. I know you'll be here at some point today. I am from Maryland, Beltsville, Maryland. Though I am currently in Alexandria, Virginia. I was lucky where I grew up. There was a pretty big art community in that area. And I've complained about this so much, but where I'm at, Alexandria, Virginia, there's not really too many art groups where artists will collaborate. Like by collaborate, I mean split a model fee so we can paint from life at a reasonable price. For long poses, for over extended periods of time. So yeah, basically when I was young, all I had to do was go and pay $10 for a 3-hour session for a pose, portrait or figure, and that same pose would be continued for 3 to 4 weeks, sometimes 6 weeks, which was perfect to create a finished looking thing. Here, you don't have that. You just have a bunch of 5-minute, 10-minute, 20-minute poses, and that's it. It's unfortunate. But don't move to Alexandria, Virginia if you want to paint with artists and split the model fee. It's kind of a problem. Okay, now we have some form on the collar. And my family, my parents are from Peru, though the last time I was in Peru I was like 15 to visit, and I don't really remember much other than the bread being really good. I don't remember much. I never saw Machu Picchu or anything like that. Back then I was really into extreme sports. Back in the early 2000s it was mostly at least what I was into was rollerblading. I was jumping off of roofs and stuff like that. Well, that's what you do when you're 15. You're invincible. This is going to be orangey compared to this shadow. They're pretty close right now, this area here and this one, but they are going to be different. Oh, happy birthday. Gigi, I did mention your happy birthday. Happy birthday. I didn't see that comment until right before I signed on today. Happy birthday to Gigi. Happy birthday. Oh, what's the bread like? I mean, I was 15 like a million years ago. Not that long ago. I'm 33. So, what is that? Half of 30 is 15. So, about, yeah, 16, 17 years ago. It was different, I would say, like more moist, I guess. Very sugary. That's what I remember. The bread being very sugary, which I liked when I was a kid. Honestly, I don't think it's that different from what you can make in your own oven today, anywhere in the world. I think it was the first time I had like fresh baked bread. That's what I remember the most. But I mean, this is forever ago. I have no connections with Peru now. Nothing. I barely speak Spanish, which is the case for a lot of, like second generation or whatever we are in the US. Okay, so there we have this color. Now creating some nice contrast with this one. So what immediately comes to my attention is how is this going to relate to this shadow, which is a tad bit more, now I'm pushing it, but in the picture it looks like it's a tad bit more blue. So let's mix these two together. Previous artworks, they're on Instagram. On my streaming software right now, it would probably take a lot of work to. I've been doing some watercolor practice, so my Shiba Inu Hugo. I showed this one yesterday, but this is watercolor practice of my my Shiba Inu Hugo. That's just what's close to me. Everything else is kind of all over the place in my little setup. But yeah, on Instagram I've got more of the images there, including like more finished stuff, which is what this is eventually gonna be. Oh, thank you. And I consider that more just practice. So watercolor is a very different thing. Which, come to find out, I think actually really helps your oil painting if you do watercolor sketches. Hugo, he's sitting somewhere out there. He's hanging out. His lifestyle's not so active anymore since we moved to the 14th floor of an apartment. Not as active as before. But I mean, all is well. He's gonna be 3 years old this year. So he's chill. Alright, now we're pushing this kind of towards a greenish yellow in comparison to the stuff around. We're gonna want to put something for this area of the hair. So let's subtract for it. Thank you. So you're new to acrylic? Well, okay, so here's a big similarity between oil paint and acrylic. You can use white with oil paint and acrylic. That is not the case with watercolor. Yes, you can use a white with watercolor, but you typically don't want to. Um, they are similar in terms of the value range. You can develop like a really nice dark with acrylic. Not so much with watercolor, which is a nice aesthetic thing with watercolor. The major difference between acrylic and oil paint is the drying time, which can be a pro or a con depending on your style of painting. For example, I will 9 out of 10 times these days I will start uh, like a commission painting or something like that. I will start it with acrylic and then finish it with oil paint just because it's a lot faster. It dries faster. You can do an underpainting in under like an hour. Then it's dry. Pretty useful to do. But it's not as forgiving as oil paint because it dries so fast. But you can do some pretty good things with acrylic as well. You want to draw a little more with acrylic. I've got some tutorials with acrylic where I didn't draw that much with lines, and that's okay too. But I've got a watercolor tutorial that'll be coming out, pre-recorded one, be about 50 minutes long, not very long. I mean longer than your average YouTube video, but that'll be coming out on Saturday. That same technique with watercolor you can actually do with acrylic in the beginning. Then of course the glazing and stuff is going to be different with the two. But yeah, we've done watercolor, we've done acrylic, we've done oil pastel, we've done soft pastel. We've done everything except for colored pencil. But yeah, my best advice for trying to learn to oil paint or trying to portrait paint with acrylic, pick an image that's very sharp light and shadow. Make sure your light and shadow is really sharp, and draw with your lines as accurately as you can, and then go in with your light and shadow with your acrylic, and then make your lights with if you're using acrylics, make your lights very, very light, because they dry darker than they do when they look wet. This with oil paint, it stays true looking until it completely dries, but for the time that you're working with oil paint, it'll stay the same. But you can get by just fine with acrylic. If you prefer acrylic, then you can just stay with acrylic. It's not so bad. I used to be scared of it when I was only doing oil painting. I was scared of the fast drying. Let's see. Yeah, with a time lapse and voice it over, sure, we could do something like that. Yeah, I could do that. I was thinking of doing that with these videos actually, but for something like Facebook, which all of those videos are short, like Instagram shorts. I'll try to create this as an Instagram short. touch of blue for the hair. Not too much because it'll look like she has gray hair, which is totally fine. I'm gonna start getting gray hair soon. Oh, thank you. I've been doing this for a while. For a long time. On top of that, I've also been on YouTube since 2017, I think. Long time. Way longer than some of the viral artists that are on YouTube now. Now for the red accents in the hair. I believe that's just from the sunlight. Alrighty, take care. It's good to see you. And of course, we can do some acrylic videos later. Some time lapses too. Alright, have a good night. You know, I was even thinking of, I mean, I laugh at my lack of knowledge of the internet these days, especially when it comes to art. So don't take this the wrong way. But I've been thinking of those types of videos where you paint something in like under, I don't know, like 5 minutes or under 10 minutes. The ones where you see where it's like really overhead and the camera is like right there and all you see is like the hand creating like a flower or some kind of like, or like where they pour paint, or you seen those with the dots of color and then the palette knife goes and does like some cool things. I mean, I'm at the point where I'll even do that. Call me desperate or whatever, but I'm at that point where I will even do that. Like I said, no harm intended, no ill will intended on those kinds of videos. Now, of course, this is my favorite kind of thing. But we have less than 10 people watching this live, which is also my fault. I got to the point too quickly with this video. These red accents also help to create atmosphere in the painting. There will be more of a blue color in the sclera for the eyes. We'll also put some curvature for the sclera of the eyes. After these little accents, we'll go jump back to the form for the face. It's a lot of fun to develop a painting to this level. Thanks, Gigi. I think me doing what I want to do has caused me problems in YouTube and in life in general. I wish that were always the case. But of course, this is what I want to do, and it's costing me a little bit. But oh well. This is what I want to paint. So some light for the hair, and we will jump back to the face, and that'll probably take the rest of the video to develop. pushing form and color is going to be a very fun, difficult challenge. Sometimes it's either form or color, one or the other, but we'll take both. Thank you. We'll have them both. I'll show you how to do that. Alright, so that's about good for the hair. Now we'll jump into the face. First thing I'll do is this cast shadow. It's a tad bit more blue. But not that blue. That's why I'm going into this red that was on the palette. Gotta be careful with this. Oy, that's what I said. Gotta be careful. Alright, that's pretty good. Dangerous value. Hit mark L. Oh, okay. How did I prepare this panel? Yeah, yeah, you want the truth behind how I did that? Okay, so I bought this as a oil primed panel. This is a Centurion, however you pronounce it, Centurion. It says linen primed, linen painting panel, universal primed 8x10. So I bought it as universal primed, so it was already primed but with acrylic. That's what universal primed means. And then I created an oil painting on this. It was one of the ones that I did over the summer, I think. I don't know actually when I painted it, but I painted and I did an oil painting on this. And then I painted over that oil painting with a lead primer. Michael Harding lead primer, or lead white oil primer, and then I put a tad bit of black into the oil primer to tone it gray, and I painted over that, and then I just let it sit for a couple months, and that's how this became lead oil primed. Yes, it's kind of sad to admit I have to paint over paintings, but I did have to paint over some paintings because I couldn't afford the panels, and yeah. Such is life. I mean, that's just another form of recycling. It's better for me to do that and then paint something over top of an old painting that wasn't doing too well, with the hopes of creating something better, a little bit more marketable the painting that was underneath of this was one of those quick one-off paintings that I did on YouTube. I do remember that much. I don't remember exactly which one it was, but for me to have painted over something, I was not happy with the way that it looked. So that's how that happens. This is why I say, especially with the price of things just getting really expensive, it kind of makes more sense to spend more time on a painting than to spend just one sitting or something like that, because you're kind of paying for the time you spend on a painting. So like, why would you cut yourself short? Even 2 sittings is kind of short. So maybe I will return to this one tomorrow. We'll see. Or next week. There's another one that we started, I don't know, like 2 weeks ago now. It's up there somewhere. And that one I will return to. Just in terms of the money, it makes more sense to spend more time on a painting. Okay. Now color-wise, we will push this reddish accent. Oh, you don't need lead paint, Mark L. You don't need lead paint. You could just get oil paint, whichever tube of oil paint, and just paint over it with oil paint. It doesn't have to be lead. If you paint over it with oil paint, let it dry for a month or so, it's fine. It'll probably be the same thing. You don't need a lead primer. That's just what I had, and I used it, and it does make a small difference, but not enough of a difference to justify the risk of using it. So no, you don't need it. You don't need the lead primer. You can just use regular oil paint. So Gigi wrote, it's amazing how many of those old masters that they have used on shows, real or fake, have underpaintings or complete paintings underneath that are different. Oh yeah. Yep. Oil painters, we tend to reuse canvases a lot. Yes, we do. We tend to reuse canvases. Reddish accent there. So how we're going to develop this is going to be a little interesting. We're going to go, sometimes we're going to go all around, like I'm doing here. I went from here to here, and then we'll probably end up going up there. Whereas last time we kind of just stuck to one area. And this is because we're using more color variation. When you're using lots of color variations, it's actually useful to go from one part of the picture to the other. Mark L, you have several panels you need to paint over. Yes, you can use titanium buff to do that. It's kind of a warm white, but it should be fine. I don't think it has zinc in it, so it should be fine. If it has zinc, you'll be fine. Don't worry about that. The old zinc white, I think, was very weak, but I don't think titanium buff has that in it. I don't think. And I think that's a Windsor color. Does reusing a previously painted canvas change how you apply paint or anything? No. As long as you let it dry fully, it's just dry. It'll be fine. It will be fine. No, you don't have to worry about that. It is actually kind of hard to crack a painting prematurely. I've tried. I think you need to buy something to do that. Like, so I don't think you need to worry about it. Even with the eyes, the sclera, the white of the eyes, see how I'm changing the color a little bit? It's going to be blue, almost as blue as that, but not a bright blue, not as blue as this. So these are color relationships we have to think about. So yes, be on the lookout for a watercolor portrait painting tutorial similar to the old school. The old school portrait painting tutorials I used to upload for oil paint back in like 2018. Almost done with that. I just have to voice it over now. The video will be sped up to twice the speed of the original painting time, but it's still going to be about 50 minutes long, so not a short video. Obviously shorter than this. Which is, again, one of the things I don't like about editing videos in general. It takes me longer to edit and produce the video than it does to paint the painting. Isn't that sad? He said, so welcome Lottie. He said the eye view has something special. Yeah, sometimes I actually hold back on painting eyes, especially in the start of a painting, just because it does do something psychological to us. It almost gives the painting like a sense of like, I don't know, like a sense of humanity. It can get too personal too soon if we paint the eyes too early. Or not. I mean, it depends on your process. The more you paint, the less that's going to affect you, though. But yeah, the eyes definitely do something. I painted dark first and then added the light to create a curvature. So it is still alla prima style painting, even at this stage. Grace, all right, when we were doing trivia, she was always the winner. I think the earlier streams are a little bit harder for her to make. I think that's probably why she hasn't been here. I also haven't done a good job announcing when I'm going to do these. But I can, with fairly good confidence, tell you that the streams will be during the day before 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, whatever 5 o'clock is in DC for you. Be on YouTube if you can, about 3 hours, 2-3 hours before that. So like 1:30 or 2:30 DC time. I'm also working on a commission currently. So this morning I actually started it with acrylic. I start pretty much all my big paintings, or at least bigger than this, with acrylic. Mark, you said you always try to start with the eyes. Nah, there's nothing wrong with it's up to you. Like if starting with the eyes doesn't bother you in any way, then you don't have to change. I sometimes will start with eyes depending on what I'm doing. So for example, if I'm doing a study of an eye like this is acrylic. I forgot to show the guy that was talking about acrylic, but this is just an eye, right? I'll start with the eye because it's just an eye. So you can do an eye, start with an eye. It's not a problem. So long as it doesn't affect you, it's not a problem. Thank you, Lottie. I'm glad you liked the painting. Some people don't like. Well, yeah, it depends on who you're showing, right? If the eye is too strong, they won't like it. Yeah, I am spontaneous now. Thanks, Markel. I am spontaneous, but at the same time, I probably won't be that spontaneous because, yeah, 1:30, 2:30, 1:45, 2:45. That's usually the time that I'll be most available to stream on YouTube. And I certainly don't want my YouTube channel to die. It is currently dying, like hardcore dying, as if you didn't notice. So I'm not gonna let it sink if I can help it. Now here's that control I was talking about. So the paint is somewhat in between dry, not obviously not like tacky yet, but it gives me enough control and the paint's not lifting, so I can create this curve here and still work somewhat wet on wet. This is kind of like a Goldilocks zone of oil paint. Oil paint won't handle this way for very long. Had I decided to do this tomorrow, 48 hours might have been too long. So 24 hours was just right. But yeah, if you haven't noticed, I mean, YouTube is not promoting anything of mine anymore. I mean, it's almost like it's trying to cancel me. I don't know why. I'm like the least troublesome type of creator you'll find here, but that's just how it goes. Consistency is obviously key, so I will be here. As consistently as humanly possible for me. Parquet billiards is not going to be an issue anymore. I have an injury on my feet that's going to prevent that from happening, but I won't talk about that. I only mention that because there's only like 4 people watching this live. So yeah, I'm not gonna be playing pool. I'm almost glad that I'm not, as it was just consuming me. Let's see, the little indication of the hat behind the hair. Oh, good. I'm glad you liked that. I think you mentioned that yesterday. Oh yeah, thank you. It's amazing. We've got 17 likes with only 8 people currently watching live. You're all very supportive, so thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, I try to deliver what my title says on the video, so I did explain what I wanted to explain very quickly. Now the rest is more form, and obviously it's all still relating to atmosphere, but like avoiding black. Like, this is not straight black, this is not straight white, but those things were already accounted for. Now kind of a brownish dark red about this area of the value range right here. Oh, GG, this is what I love to do more than anything. Painting. In particular, painting and video, combining them has always been something I've wanted to do. But pool, no, it's not. It definitely was something that I enjoyed for a while because it was a challenge, and it was one of those things that just kept getting more and more and more involved, to the point where it's like I really can't, like, the level of the amount of time it takes to get to it, even a mediocre level in that sport, is just astounding. So I'd much rather paint all day, which is what I'm doing. And yeah, I won't mention it, like, but yeah, I have something wrong with my feet, so that's almost gonna permanently prevent me from playing pool for long periods of time, at least for like a good couple months. Yeah, no one likes pain. Isn't there what movie somebody says life is pain, anyone that tells you different is trying to sell you something? Isn't there a movie where somebody says something like that? Can't remember which one though. Now it's really starting to close up, so to speak. The form is starting to, I call it close. See this little, oops, this little window, right? This starting to become 3D. This is the fun part. Oh yeah, my hands are fine. I do have a bruise on this finger from a pool, believe it or not, a pool related injury from November. What are we like? November, December, January, February. 4 months later, it's still messed up. Yeah. I'm gonna be staying at home in the studio painting for a considerable amount of time. Not really gonna leave the apartment for much anymore. But this is a great place. I mean, there's a gym downstairs. There's a deli. I don't really have to leave this place much. I'm softening this edge here. It's contributing to the fullness of the form. This has to go darker. Again, this is not really... this doesn't have much to do with the atmosphere. It has more to do with the form. Making this look more 3D. Oh, thanks, GG. So Lottie wrote, if we can get rid of pain, we can see how to be for world needs lovely people. Oh, no worries. No worries. That's definitely from some movie, though. Life is pain. Anyone that tells you differently is trying to sell you something. Now this is weird. We've got less people watching than we have the rate of the chat. Interesting. Interesting how YouTube is kind of a weird platform these days. It tells us something. Yeah, something weird going on there. Now we're pushing these darker accents for the eyebrows. Remember, the eyebrows can have just as much sophistication in terms of light and shadow as anything else. You can push anything you want now to the highest degree you feel like at this stage. There is a point in a painting where, as you continue to develop it, you become more of kind of a designer than you do a like a reporter of something. You're not really reporting too much of what is seen anymore, but what you know is supposed to be there, especially when you're painting from a picture. These things go unnoticed. Frankly, they're not really in photographs very much because photographs are mainly flat, unless you're looking at a AI generated some kind of crazy thing. All these little things now are very, very minute. So Google have to buy the Wiz? Maybe that's the movie where it's from. I'm exactly half your age today, listening to Ren's premiere live. Oh, you doubled the like. Oh, okay, I see. Thank you. Form of language connection. Oh, I didn't even notice. We're at 1 hour 18 minutes. I forgot. I'm supposed to take a break every hour. I didn't even notice the time. So, that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and take a break. Gonna stretch, play Nintendo Switch for like 5 minutes, and then we will return to continue to push the form on the face. Not a lot of stuff is gonna happen in a pretty decent amount of time, so this is more just kind of like sitting and enjoying developing the forms. But anyway, I'm gonna take a break. I will be right back. Alrighty then. Let's continue on with this painting. So let's see, we've got about 1 hour till I gotta go. So I'm not gonna take another break. We are gonna just keep on painting till time is up. The way I'm looking at this, it will probably not be completely finished by the end of the hour, but we'll find out. We'll see. I'm thinking tomorrow, assuming I do jump on the stream. Remember, if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so. And turn on the notifications. It'll let you know when I am live. If not, I will have a pre-recorded video on Saturday. I'm going to try to make that a tad bit more consistent as well. The pre-recordeds, in addition to these live streams. So again, happy birthday to Gigi. Thanks for joining. Sorry it's a little quiet here today. Okay. Now we will push the form, say for, as we're jumping around the mouth, anywhere I can spot an obvious line, it's really easy to develop from there. So anywhere there's a line, obvious line, it's a clear indicator where you can start to add form. Now obviously when it comes to the topic of the video, atmosphere, make sure that nothing is straight black or overly dark or overly white, overly light as well, because these things will jump out. And you don't want anything to jump out if you're trying to create atmosphere. You want things to recede in space and let these forms kind of emerge from the canvas because of the things that are being pushed back. You can't bring things forward in a canvas, you can only push them back. That's why the darks are super important. Think about it. A regular unprimed canvas is white. It's as bright as it can be. All you can do is push things back. There's Grace. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, Grace, so the time, yeah, notifications, I know, I need to do that. Around 1:30 or 2:30 DC time is kind of the best for me to start. 'Cause I did mention that the wifey gets off of work at 5. So at 5 I'm pretty much not really able to work. You know, because I want to spend time with her. But yes, definitely. Going on forward, we need to have real notifications. Appreciate everybody's patience with me. I know I'm not consistent at all these days. Oh, thanks, Gigi. Thank you, thank you. Glad we got extra likes today. Yes, atmosphere. You can only push things back in a canvas. You can't really bring anything forward directly. Kind of like gravity. Gravity, as we know it, doesn't pull anything, it pushes things. Only kind of in one direction. Thanks, Grace. I'm glad you enjoy the streams. Of course, it'll start to pick up more from this point on. There's really not much to keep me away from work anymore. I am at fault for being distracted with things like pool in the past, but it's not going to be much of an issue these days or for the foreseeable future. So it's a blessing in disguise, basically, that I do get this time now to work. Like I said, I've got a commission that I'm doing. I was working on the commission this morning. I'll probably work on it tonight when Lucy goes to bed. So basically painting around the clock like I should be. So how do you line up the shadow line on the face with the angle of the brim of the hat? Angle of the brim of the hat. So here, well, the cast shadow should follow the direction of the form of the face, kind of like on your hand, like this. Like you project a shadow from, see this, like how it's following the direction of the form of my hand. It would be the same. See, it's the same thing up there. Do a little drawing correction here. The nose is too wide. You wrote seems more realistically rendered than usual. Oh, good. I'm trying to go for that. Actually, I'm going for more realism. I want to show pretty much the methods that I would personally use for a commission or for a studio painting that I would submit to a gallery or something like that. So, that being said, I end up working faster, even though this seems really slow. But getting to this stage in 2 sittings is relatively fast, I would say. Out of all the techniques that I've shown on the internet, I want to display the most efficient one, a career building approach. Doesn't make this the easiest one to learn, but it's the most conventional. So a lot of you wrote, the body cells work together as the soul speaks. Oh, we're looking at some metaphysical stuff here. Pretty cool. Yeah, correct. Definitely, it's a bit more of a challenge with the shadows, and all the complexities here make this 9 out of 10, I think, in terms of difficulty. It would be a 10 out of 10 if the face was facing us. It would be a 10 out of 10. But luckily, the face is 3/4 relative to us. Now, in terms of color theory and stuff like that, things that are in the light the most are typically going to be the most saturated, like the lips. Things that are in the shadow are not going to be as saturated, with exceptions. Imagine there's a blue neon light behind here. Now, obviously, that would break that rule. So there are exceptions. Now we're going to put some little details for the reflections through the hat. Here's where you gotta be very careful with what you show. Now we're going to create the glowing effect once we start to put the bluish lights. And of course some of the texture on the hat as well. Let me know if you can hear those fire trucks. That's why I'm set up where I am, so you don't hear those things. I'm hearing a lot of fire trucks in the background. Oh, good. I'm glad you don't hear them. I'm so glad you don't hear them. Hey, Julia. I haven't heard from you in a while. Hope you're doing well. These reflections in the light, they're not too bad. You just have to follow I guess the little pattern of the grain of the hat, which we will paint the little details on the hat soon. I've always really enjoyed color, painting light. My first teacher, I mentioned this before, he was a student of Henry Henchy, who was a teacher of Nelson Shanks, so you can kind of get the reference of where the color influence comes from. So it's really fun to be able to use color and form together. Now we're going to switch to the blue. Blue-green. Yeah, I've been doing this for a while. Well, thanks. Yeah, 33. And yes, I've been painting for a very long time. I was lucky with the teachers that I had early on. When I was 17, 18, whatever, when I first started doing like figurative stuff. I mean, I had always painted like on my own in middle school and stuff, but really taking it seriously, like to make it to a professional level, was 17, 18. So we're looking at 16 or 17 years, something like that, of painting, like to try to get to this level. But yeah, my teachers were always so nice to me. I was very fortunate. I haven't seen Uncle Earl. Yes, I started with drawing Dragon Ball Z, and even before that, I used to draw cars, like when uh, Fast and Furious or Too Fast and Furious came out. My mom has my first little doodle when I was 4, but pretty much all of us have doodles when we were kids. I think there was an even older one where I drew a snowman. Oh, thanks, Lottie. Thank you. You definitely can't be too timid when you're painting something like that on a face. Believe it or not, these are the easiest parts. Literally just putting details on the painting. This is the kind of stuff that will probably get more attention than the hard work, light and shadow stuff from, people that look at the paintings close up and things like that. A lot of like a lot of art collectors or people like that are really keen on details. Look at all the details, but don't really think about the light and shadow, the difficulty of light and shadow. It's like what's great about Sargent is not the brushstroke of Sargent. It's not how loose Sargent painted things, but the light and shadow, the drawing, the form, the color. That's what's great about Sargent. Okay, we're getting there. Slowly but surely. Hey, Jonas. I'm tempted to give her fangs like a vampire. Every time I have to paint teeth, I'm always tempted to put vampire teeth. But I gotta stop myself from doing that. It's just kind of it's one of those things that's so easy to do, but you just don't do it because what if you end up selling the painting at some point, Thanks, Janice. This is darker for the makeup on the eyes, but not straight black. As you can see, I'm mixing into other stuff. And that's where the darkest dark is going to be. That is what creates a really keen sense of atmosphere, is having that kind of control over the darks, so that this is not just one line, but there is the darkest plane. No fangs, I know. I know. I'm always tempted to put fangs in there, but I won't. I might, but I won't. Probably won't put fangs in there. Highlights have a little more color, let's say green. More yellow green. Highlights for the eyes, though you can't really see it on the reference. And then of course we're going to have to push some more of the form on the forehead. Not much. And then some of the threading on the hat. Teeth are difficult. Yes, they are difficult. Absolutely. Okay, so this is gonna be a little interesting. I've got 3 different brushes, and let's see if I can do something with them. No, I didn't zoom in for any of the details, though sometimes I do, but not today. I haven't. Um, Actually, I see better with my contacts, but I'm wearing my glasses because I haven't been playing pool for like a while, like a week. Um, so I really just have my contacts for pool. So no, I'm not wearing the contacts. I'll probably still wear it from time to time just so I don't have to have my glasses on. But yeah, I mainly had it for pool. But I have a problem with my feet, so I can't really play pool for extended hours anymore. Which is basically the only way to get good at that game is to spend an eternity. So that's why I'm not wearing contacts. So we're at the 2 hours. Did I miscalculate when I said we had an hour left? I think I did. I still have 30 minutes till 5. When does Lucy get off of work? Oh, right, she gets off at 5. Okay, never mind. So I've got 30 minutes till she gets off of work. I won't be taking a break. I'll just keep painting. Yeah, it's been 2 hours. Yeah, I miscalculated before. Rembrandt didn't have a freezer to save the paint. No, he didn't. But he definitely had apprentices to grind up new paints for him every day. Until, of course, he couldn't afford them. Even to the point where the philtrum connects with the nose. It's getting to that level now. So it's getting there. It reminds me a lot of Nelson Shanks, my superhero as I refer to him. Color and form. It's not easy to do, but it is possible. They're dangerously close, light and shadow, but they're still differentiated. They're dangerously close. And thanks, Grace. Lisa. Thank you, thank you. Welcome, welcome. You're watching the theme as you play the clarinet. Oh, I've never played the clarinet. Cool. Yeah, and this is the kind of control that knowing when to work on the painting so that it's a little bit tacky but not too tacky is very important for this kind of development. Again, check out the teacher of my teachers. His name is Nelson Shanks, and you'll see very similar types of development. He founded the school where I went to in Philly a long time ago. Unfortunately, he passed away in 2015. His son still paints to this day. Pretty cool kid. Almost there. Well, not really. There's always something more to do. Good to remember those who have live and go and add good to the world. It's Very true, Lottie. Trying to continue what Nelson was able to do with his paintings. Oh, thanks, Gigi. Yeah, complexity and the color and the shadow is a huge Nelson Shanks thing. So I'm happy. This is probably the closest I think I've gotten to his level. I think those watercolor sketches are definitely helping me a little bit. So the dark inside the corner of her mouth. Teeth are, yeah, they are kind of difficult. I didn't show the bottom teeth hardly at all. There may be some indication of it, but I didn't put that in there. I just put the top. So I edit that part out. So yeah, that's why I did that. I purposefully edit that. I didn't want to show all of the teeth. And this is a tricky area because this corner is going to get dark. But it has to be somewhat, a little bit imperceptible. Thanks, Lottie. There's kind of a mystery to it. I might need new glasses too. But yeah, it's just the top. I didn't put the bottom teeth in there. Yeah, correct. I didn't put the top or the bottom This is 8 by 10. Yeah, this is a 8 by 10 size, but it's zoomed in slightly. So you can't see the edge of the colors there. It's slightly zoomed in. 8 by 10. And not a critique of Nelson, but there's one thing I didn't like too much about his paintings. And I think that was, it may be the way that it's photographed, but in some of the Nelson Shanks paintings, the darks really do look black. Um, and I think it could just be the contrast being pushed up on the photograph. It is very difficult to photograph paintings. For me, I just use the camera setup that you're looking at the video from. I just switch it from record mode to camera and just take a picture, and that's it. Do I need to adjust the lighting? Oh, did I miss something? I hope I don't have to adjust the lighting. I hope not. This is just the light above up here. So I would hope not. Of course, the light is dark on me because I mean that's a webcam that you're looking at, or this is my setup. To photograph the painting, no, I don't really need a different setup. I just use the same light, the same everything. But that's because it's already set up for video. So it's not much of a transition to switch to photography. You've used blue lamp, daylight to give different results. Cool. Yeah, it's good to experiment with different light setups too. Yeah, yeah, that is true. That's another reason I switched from that position. The change of the daylight would affect the painting, but here this is electric. It's electric. It won't change at all. I could paint for like 10 hours straight, it wouldn't change. Unless my camera died or something. Now, edges. Last thing is almost always edges. Yeah, the hair could get darker in some areas. Well, that's true. Her head could blow off her head. That is true. Yeah, darker. Yeah, we could title it Hats Off. Darker on the top right. Let's see. I think more up here, the left, which would be her right. Accent here. So of course I was gonna change the edges anyway in that area. Very careful with these accents. Oh, her right. Oh, I was right, I guess. Right here. It's that accent. There we go. So it creates a dark accent. We throw in some alizarin, sneak in some color. I know that's something Nelson would have done, so I've seen his paintings up close. Yeah, there is some darker over here, but again, I don't want to put too much dark. Maybe over here for the plane. Not too much. And like clockwork, Alice is calling me. Hold on a second. Okay, so that was Lucy. She's on her way. Luckily, she works 10 minutes away. So I have to head out really soon. But yeah, I pushed some of the dark over there. Hopefully that helps. Hopefully that helps a little bit. Yeah, definitely a lot of discipline with the Nelson paintings for sure. I hope I'm a little bit closer to that level with this one. I've done enough studies of his paintings that I can see how it works. So very close to being finished. I'd say it's about 97% complete. Oh, thanks, Giselle. Or not Giselle, Gigi. Gazelle, I think, was with like a Z sounding, I think, was what we were saying, but we'll stick with Gigi. Again, happy birthday. Thanks for joining on your birthday of all days. So, happy birthday to Gigi. Thanks, Lottie. It is all difficult for sure. Thanks, Lisa. Yeah, there's definitely more of the dark, but I don't know. I don't want to push the dark too much. Try to keep that kind of airy, atmospheric type effect. But yeah, Lucy's probably about, I don't know, like 3 minutes away now. So I'm gonna have to end this one for now. It's complete enough. I'd say we can do another one next time. I still have that other painting, but we'll see what we do. Definitely check out the finished picture on Instagram. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Again, happy birthday to Gigi. We're going to put the brushes in the linseed oil. This is the lazy way to do it, or the way to do it if you don't want to use your sink in your small apartment. Keep it in the linseed oil. It'll be okay. This will go back in the freezer. I won't even clean it. Just go straight to the freezer. So again, happy birthday to Gigi. Thank you, Lisa. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining. Next time we will start another one. Maybe we'll do a pastel or a watercolor or something. I don't know. But hopefully you enjoyed seeing how we developed a sense of light and atmosphere. Hopefully it's more visible now with this one. Once again, thank you so much for watching. I wish you all the very best, and I'll see you next time.